this is my videocast assignment for SGD 111, and the game I'll be covering is Fortnite Battle Royale. What Fortnite Battle Royale is, and most Battle Royale games, the general consensus of what the game is you are on an island or some level which has multiple named locations. There's 100 players in the lobby, and they're all dropped into an airplane or some sort of flying contraption, and they land at different named areas, and the last team or individual standing wins the game. You loot for weapons, guns, sometimes attachments, the special items. In the case of Fortnite, the special items like boogie bombs or other unique equipables which you can use against your enemies. The game's core dynamic, I would say, would be, like I said, to be the last one standing, but there is a good sense of exploration in it. The maps, all three of Fortnite's maps, they have had their problems at different points in their history, because they all have evolved, but they've been quite pleasant to explore, I would say, for the most part. And they've had very iconic named areas, not just from Fortnite in it, but all gaming standards, I'd say. The rules in the game are mostly automated. It's not much way you can cheat. I guess you can team, but they have a good automated system to detect if you're in solos. If you're trying to team with another solo, it can pretty easily detect if you're teaming or not. But all the rules are automatically implemented and automatically regulated for the most part. For some of the more gray areas, they're manually by Epic Games employees. And that's really it. The game mechanics, I would say that I enjoy the most. Fortnite would be the building, but it's also one of the biggest problems, because I'm not a professional at Fortnite, but if you're like, I would consider myself above average, but if you're like even slightly below average or even average, the game does have skill-based matchmaking, so it puts you up against players at similar level. But still, sometimes in smaller regions, you can go up against someone who's way better than you, and that's the problem. So, and the game is never, when it first came out, it was pretty accessible. I'd say for the first year and a half, maybe it was accessible. At this point, I can't recommend someone who to play Fortnite who hasn't been playing or who hasn't at least tried the game already. Unless they're willing to learn the core mechanic, which could take a while. But I'd say, like, because Fortnite has been such a huge game, most gamers have at least tried Fortnite who are able to. So its accessibility really isn't a problem there, because they already have a huge player base and a good past player base who can return to the game. I think the game is a good match for its target audience. I think that the one critique I give it is that because of the art style, or because they're trying to appeal to both ends more or less, they have a competitive scene which has the problem in the casual scene. There's a big divide between the two. So it depends on which audience you're targeting, but the main audience, the casual audience, and the people who are more regular in that regard, I say it does a good job if you've been playing consistently. If you're just returning to the game, or if you never tried it, then in that regard, it may not be for you. But whatever audience is captured is doing a good job retaining. There is a competitive side to the game, but it's pretty controversial in many ways. Most of the players in there are, I guess in any competitive environment, there are going to be a lot of rude and mean people, to put it simply. But in Fortnite, it's especially bad. But there are cast tournaments which are hosted by Epic, which have some regulations. The game is pretty balanced. At most points in its history, where every time they do a new update, the balance is tilted negatively. But usually they rebalance it in the coming weeks, and it gets pretty stable. I think there's nothing majorly unbalanced about the game from a casual perspective at almost any given time. From a competitive perspective, the standards are higher. So, yeah, in that case, they have been unbalanced things. But taking that into account, I don't think so. The menu navigation is very good. I would say it's pretty self-explanatory. If I were as a game designer, what I would use to take from this game is something which isn't even in the game yet, but I think this should be in every mainstream game that's on PC or or which has some creative aspect to it, and that would be modding, which they're working on with Unreal Engine support. I think that's a key thing I need to add.